Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming back once again. We're here with a slightly longer talk with Joe Zieja. Hello.
Hey there.
Primarily, we're focusing on your time as the voice of Claude Von Reigan from Fire Emblem Three Houses. How has that journey been for you so far? We'll go into more details, but just generally speaking.
It's been pretty wild. Sometimes like I wake up and I'm like, man, it's been like I don't know, 8 months since the game came out. I think. So, yeah, about 8 months. And it's been pretty wild since day one. I really didn't expect the fan response that I got, and I was happy to just kind of like go with the flow. I saw what everybody was enjoying, and yeah, it's been really great. It's definitely been a life-changing experience for me.
I'm glad that the Fire Emblem community was able to help with that. With that being said, a lot of people don't know about your time before, obviously, as the voice of Claude. So let's go into a bit of that. So what were you doing before voice acting? Because you're still relatively, I would say relatively new to the VA stuff, but it's only because from a credit standpoint.
So I started voice acting in 2013. So I've been doing this for, I guess, just about 7 years, almost 7 years. But I didn't move to Los Angeles to hunt the video game work until 2015. So I haven't been in LA for 5 years yet. Before that, I was actually an officer in the Air Force and then a government contractor.
Oh,
And sort of like stumbled into voice acting in 2013, and voice acting ended up being my out from government work, from the corporate scene.
what kind of got you into it?
Really, it was just one random discussion with a friend of mine, and I was like, yeah, you know what, I always thought about trying voice acting. And I'm thinking like, anime, cartoons, games, that kind of thing. And he said, well, you could do corporate VO. We used to hire stuff for my company from this website. You should check it out. So I checked it out, ended up booking like the first thing I auditioned for. I knew how to work with audio from sort of my time as a remixer on this website called Overclocked Remix.
Oh, wait, you worked on Overclock Remix?
Yeah, I actually have like 50 remixes posted on that site.
I'm going to be amazed if somehow in my childhood I was listening to you and I did not know.
I think it's if you listen to anything after 2011, then there's a solid chance. I was all over the Balance and Ruin album, which is the Final Fantasy VI remix album,
Nice.
as well as the Final Fantasy IX album and several other ones that have just kind of been floating around. So I knew my way around audio engineering a little bit, so I knew how to like cut a track and mix it and send it. And it really just snowballed. It snowballed very, very quickly. Within 8 months, I was talking to my employer about quitting my job. And then 8 months after that, I did quit my job.
Oh,
And
okay.
so in 2015, we moved out here to hunt the work that I was really passionate about, which was the character work, the games, the animation.
Okay. So before we get into some of the more anime and gaming related stuff, you have a book series called, I believe it's called Epic Failure.
Yeah, the trilogy is called the Epic Failure Trilogy. It consists of obviously 3 books: Mechanical Failure, Communication Failure, and System Failure in that order. Very, very loosely based on my time in the Air Force. It's satirical military science fiction, so it's funny. It's been compared to Terry Pratchett or Douglas Adams, like it's like a Hitchhiker's Guide kind of screwball comedy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what kind of got you into writing then?
Writing was an earlier love than voice acting for sure. I had always been writing stuff. I wrote my first book, which was utter garbage, when I was 16 or 17. Then I sort of took a break from writing novels for a long time. In 2010-ish, I decided that I wanted to try publishing a novel and started to kind of work that community, work my craft. I published my first novel. Well, I got my agent in 2012 or 2013 and published. I sold my first novel in 2014 or so, and
Oh, okay.
Mechanical Failure, I think, came out in 2015. So yeah, it was just that was always a thing where it was. I loved writing. I thought that that would be the way that I sort of escaped being employed, because I always wanted to be self-employed. I didn't. I found out after the Air Force that.
You escaped. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to go think I was listening quite intensely there.
Ah,
Yeah, so you're saying you got out from you used that as was that like a means of getting out? You said the VA stuff was a way of getting out from the
yes,
Air
but I
Force, but
always expected writing to be the way out. That's kind of what I was
okay.
like. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna try my hand at writing, and once I can sustain myself, then I can quit the corporate world, the military corporate complex that I was involved in, and work for myself. It didn't happen that way. Voiceover took over much quicker, much sooner, and ultimately, I'm currently not writing anything anymore.
Oh, so so will you ever return to writing then?
You know, I'm not sure. The Los Angeles Hollywood life for a voice actor can be very chaotic, and it
Mm.
became apparent to me last year that I needed to sort of pare down on because I do a lot of things. I always have. Like
Yes.
I collect skills and hobbies like a little kid collects rocks, and it became clear that I had to give some of them up if I wanted to stay sane. So writing, writing books is a very long and difficult endeavor with few rewards. If you're not like a New York Times best-selling author, that
Mm.
it's certainly not as lucrative as voice acting is, and it was taking up a lot of time. The publishing process can be very stressful. So
Mm.
with so much stress and so little gain, it was an easy thing on the chopping block. So I don't know if I'll ever return to it. I do love writing. Well, you know what? They say that I love having written. It's not that I
Mm.
really like writing. I love having written. It's nice to
Yeah.
have a book and then have people read it. So who knows? I had thought about working with some other publishers on some different types of written mediums, but right now it's that switch is turned off.
Okay, so you're firmly now in the VA space
Yeah, and I
is the best way
honestly,
to
like I
describe it.
always was. Book sales. It's very difficult to sustain yourself on book sales. I know people that have published a dozen novels and still have day jobs because the industry isn't as strong as
Mm.
if you're not a George R. R. Martin, and now we're getting into the technicalities of like the publishing industry, but if you're not a super strong popular author, it's extremely difficult to be full time.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I mean, it it's still amazing that you have so many different skills, and as well as being a published person. It's like you said, it's better to have been published than to have not. Um, uh, and it's great that you've got at least something to look back on. So maybe someday you'll probably do some writing. Hey, maybe you'll do some write-ups for Fire Emblem. I
Who
don't know.
knows?
Could be,
If there's one thing I've learned about my life is that I really can't predict where it's going to go next. So if writing kicks in the door and says this is what you're doing now, then that's what I'm going to be doing.
all right. Okay then. We're moving fairly swiftly into all my talking points, to be fair. So we're finally getting into the VA and the anime standpoint. So I was looking. I did a quick look at your roles. Your first role, or at least one of the earliest roles, was in Hunter x Hunter in 2011, apparently.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're looking at IMDb, I'm sure.
no, I was looking at behind the voice actors.
Oh, yeah. So,
Uh,
so what they usually do is they put the original publishing date of the Japanese anime on there.
yeah.
I wouldn't even live here until 2015. So I didn't
I see. I
record
see.
Hunter x Hunter Phantom Rouge until 2017, maybe.
Mm. Oh, so it's a lot. So according to let's just get this out of the way then. Behind the Voice Actors has it marked as 2011. But so you started technically. So no, your actual VA career started in 2015, 2014 ish. Have I got that correct now?
If you don't count the corporate work, if I'm saying like so my video game anime and animation career started in 2015 for sure.
Okay.
That's when I moved here, and you don't have access to the opportunities unless you live in Los Angeles, with very few exceptions. So that's why I moved here, and so yeah, you could effectively say I started 2015ish.
Okay. So it's probably good to get that clarified, because a lot of people will probably look at that pieces of information, and obviously with a lot of people wanting to get into the industry, people consider like when a start is at different times. So, for example, you were just saying that you did the corporate stuff. So no, it's definitely interesting to hear about, especially with the differences.
Yeah, IMDb does the same thing, where the original release of the unlocalized anime is the date that's on there. So like, I think Skip Beat was actually my first anime, and I think that's listed as 2009 or something like that. And I obviously, I mean, didn't even know what voice acting was in 2009.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. No, I didn't. Skip Beat came out in 2009.
I'm just guessing. I don't really know. I could look it up, but
no, it's really
many
like,
of the anime roles are
it was a very long
like
time ago. I'm old. Oh my god.
I know, right?
Yeah. So we'll fast forward a bit. So obviously you've been in Hunter x Hunter. You've been in Gundam. Which are you a big anime and video game fan yourself?
I did grow up watching anime. I wouldn't, I watched sort of selected anime. I wouldn't like just watch absolutely everything. This was like before Crunchyroll and stuff like that. So the anime I kind of got started on was stuff like, Voltron's an anime. Cowboy, when I was in high school, like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun became like instant favorites. I don't know that I was watching like series consistently until the mid 2000s. But no, I love anime. I love the stories that it tells. Death Note is probably one of my favorite of all time. I think that's a brilliant anime. So yeah, I do watch a fair bit.
Wait, Voltron, is that like an 80s show?
Yeah, it's an 80s show. But man, did I fall in love with it when I was like 6 years old. And it just never let go.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. What's your favorite anime of all time then? What's your favorite game and what's your favorite anime?
So my favorite anime of all time, it's a toss-up for me between Trigun and Death Note.
Okay.
Death Note for me is like such an incredible piece of storytelling in a lot of different ways. And Trigun is kind of like a first love kind of thing where like I love the story. I think it's deep, it's awesome. The soundtrack is phenomenal. I listened to the soundtrack for Trigun like as recently as last week. I love it.
It is a good track.
Yeah, it's great. As far as favorite video game of all time, that's really hard.
Sorry.
I find that no, it's okay. I find that when people talk about the stories that they experience and the ones that they love the most, a lot of people, like after you are in your 20s, nothing takes the throne away anymore, right? You're always referring back to something you played when you were in your formative years because it has a lot of different elements of great storytelling for you. It has nostalgia. It has you coming to terms with like growing up. Once you're in your 30s, like, Avengers Infinity War was a fantastic movie. I'm never going to watch it again. It's like it didn't define me. It wasn't the spiritual food I needed at the time.
Yeah.
So like going back to, my early teens and playing games like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VI, and probably my favorite game of all time, despite all of its flaws, is Xenogears. I love that game.
Xenogears?
Yeah.
That is a huge shout.
Yeah.
I've not heard many people talk about that game.
You know what? Like, it gets a lot of slack for the second disc, which I totally understand. I would love to see them finish it with the content they have. In the same vein, I hope they never touch it. I hope they never remake it. It was good as it is. So, yeah, I would say Xenogears. Xenogears is one of my favorite love stories of all time between Faye and Ellie. And I just think it does what a lot of video games at the time were very scared of doing, which is like having real content in it. Content based on like Jungian psychology and Nietzsche and like just deep existential topics that a lot of mediums were afraid to touch. And I love it. I love that game.
Okay. Anybody who's listening and they happen to know Joe's going to think, you know what to buy him, or at least get him to sign. With that being said, so we're finally getting into some Fire Emblem stuff. So it's kind of weird because I don't think Claude was not your first role in Fire Emblem, was it?
No, it was not. But they were one came very closely on the tails of the other. I was in Fire Emblem Heroes, which I wasn't even familiar with until I booked the game. I played Canis and Jamkey. And those sessions are they're fairly small. You kind of go in, you knock them out, and you walk away because there's just not a lot of dialogue. There's, I don't remember. I remember each of the sessions certainly were not longer than 2 hours, probably much shorter than that. But it was that same studio that booked me on Three Houses, maybe like 6 months later.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. So was it the same studio? Was it the same talent pool, if I may ask, if that makes any sense?
Well, the talent pool, I don't want to say the talent pool is small because it's not, but I mean, there's a reason that you see the same names pop up in a lot of different things. We all run in similar circles, and some people lean more towards anime, some people lean more towards video games, some people lean more towards like network animation. But there's a lot of crossover too. I do a lot of all three of those. Some people sit firmly into one of them. So yeah, there are a lot of things that form a talent pool. And it could be the game's, like if the game is union or non-union, if the game's budget, it could be like, is it vocally stressful? Is it like, there are a lot of things that determine what talent will work on it or will not work on it.
Oh, okay. So you said this was like one after the other, kind of. So you had Fire Emblem Heroes, and then did you go? Was it like you said it was a couple of months later, and then it was Fire Emblem Three Houses. So when for you did you find out about Three Houses?
The game came out in 2019. I'm kind of curious now because I'm actually going to look at my email and see when they told me. But, oh no, all these emails are pretty old.
Because when we spoke to the Breath of the Wild voice actors a couple of years back now, it was not that much long before the release of the game. It was like a year within. Yeah. So it was a fairly interesting mindset because the game's usually voiced in Japanese and then localized is usually the mindset, and it's kind of the same with Legendary Heroes and so on and so forth. So it was with a game as big as Fire Emblem, especially with the amount of dialogue that's in that game, and by comparative, Breath of the Wild is a fairly there isn't as much dialogue. I would wonder.
So I found the email, and it was in July of 2018.
July 2018. Oh wow,
yes.
That was a very short turnaround.
It was a very short turnaround, and the recording schedule was fairly aggressive, but not that the studio involved Cup of Tea that did the recordings. They take excellent care of their actors, so it was aggressive. Like there was no nonsense, and we would do a lot. Like I would do, I don't know, I would have sometimes 2 or 3 4-hour sessions a week to knock out Claude, but it was never stressful. It was never anything I couldn't handle.
Did you happen? So when you were recording for Claude, did you happen to see some of the other voice actors? Like, because I know you've met them after. I know when the game came out, I know you did a lot of things, but during that time,
a lot of times studios aren't comfortable, or production companies comfortable like releasing the names of different people. Even when you're involved in the project. So we had a little like rap party at the very end of the game. Maybe like in April of 2019, we had a little rap party, and that's the first time I met a whole bunch of people. But I knew that Chris Hackney was Dimitri fairly early on, and I don't remember how. I don't remember like how I discovered it. Sometimes those things happen. You'll pass somebody in a session and it'll be pretty obvious. But it was kept pretty hard under wraps for a while.
So you never had any sessions with any of the other VOs, or did you see anyone in particular?
No. Video games, 99% of the time are recorded with each actor separately. The only times that ever happens is where everyone's together is if you're doing motion capture in a for like bigger games, like for Just Cause 4. I did motion capture, several days of motion capture for that, and all of us were together because it's like stage acting, right? They're just filming you and then putting it into the game. I have to date only done one video game session where I was in the booth with another actor.
Is that a game you can talk about?
Not yet. I cannot.
Okay.
And it honestly, like, the only reason I was in the booth with that actor is because the game is highly dependent on two people talking to each other. Like, you know, and so, like, it made sense for us to be in the booth together. But for the most part, it doesn't make any sense to have actors in the booth together because there's so much interstitial stuff that it's very rare that characters are even talking to each other in games sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
So, network animation is a different story. For Lego City Adventures, I played Duke Detain and Clemens, who are two main characters in a Nickelodeon series. We record in a room sometimes with as many as 10 people in it. And it's a wild, raucous amount of fun.
Which do you prefer?
I have to say, I prefer recording with other people. The Lego sessions, and that's not to say like one's bad and one's good, but I'm saying like the sessions at which I have the most fun, gosh, Lego City Adventures, we would just like cry with laughter in the booth. There's all of us there. We're all like comedy improv actors who with animation experience. There's some like big heavy hitters in there that have been doing it for years, like Roger Craig Smith, Fred Tatasciore, Troy Baker, Nolan North. Like these guys are all, and we just make each other laugh. It's like this competition for who can entertain each other more, and we have a great time. And those sessions, and like as an actor on the business side, I'm sitting there and I'm soaking it up. I'm just watching all these incredible pros do their thing and walking away smarter and a better actor every time.
I mean, you're a pro too now, so there's that. I don't want to.
Yeah, there's pro, and then there's the people I work on Lego with. It's just like people walk in the room and you're like, you're the voice of Dexter in Dexter's Lab. Why am I here?
Was Nintendo very hands-on with this particular localization for Claude's characterization?
Well, what do you mean by like hands-on at what part? Remember, voice actors only see what we do in the booth.
Okay. So were they there? Were they present? Were they like, for example, when we spoke with Patricia, who voiced Zelda, she was requested to voice act the way that she did in the end. That was the way her performance came out, because that was specifically requested by Nintendo. And I was wondering, it was the same. Did the same thing happen with you?
The Nintendo had representatives sort of not at random, but at several different parts through there. But for the most part, they had a director there who was Patrick Seitz, and it's his job to direct the performance, not necessarily the production company. And good producers will let their director do their job. And that goes, that's the same for any kind of organization. The best thing you can do is hire smart people who are good at their job and then get out of their way. And Nintendo did very much stay out of Patrick's way, and it showed. He was a phenomenal director for this project. One of my favorite directors I've ever worked with, and it was the first time I had worked with him.
Ah, okay. Did you happen to meet the director of the game series or the project manager of the game of Three Houses?
So after the game came out, I flew up to Seattle to meet with some people from the localization team. And I met with like some different parts of the localization team prior, but I kind of wanted to go up there and say hi. The intent was that I buy everybody lunch, but they beat me to it and they bought me pizza. Yeah, we had a great time. I really enjoyed getting to meet, because part of the thing that made, I wouldn't even say part of it, a majority of the reason that Fire Emblem's localization was so successful was because of the writers. They did just a phenomenal job, not just taking Japanese words and making them English, which is a pitfall that I think many localization companies fall into. They took like the intent and they characterized it and translated the character. You can translate words, but that you also have to translate emotions and feelings and characters and stuff like that. And they did such a great job. I have the most experience with Claude, but like Claude's lines were consistent. They were in character. They made sense, and they made my job very easy. Very, very easy.
So when you went up, what was that experience like meeting the localization staff?
It was really awesome. I was really nervous, just because you think, sometimes it's like, well, Nintendo's a big company. I'm just like one little cog in this wheel. And I kind of thought, like, am I going up there and being a burden? Am I just going to interrupt their workday and they really don't, like it's whatever? Because, companies are different about how they feel about their actors. Some companies don't necessarily care and don't interface, and some companies are very active. So I didn't really know what to expect when I went to Nintendo. And so I met somebody at the front desk, and we kind of, we chatted, and she was like, "Oh yeah, here's everybody," and she leads me to a conference room where there's pizza and like 15 people who all stand up and start cheering. So it was like this immediate, like, okay, I feel a lot better about this. I was very nervous going in, but no, we had a great lunch. It was fantastic to meet everybody on the team. They were all incredibly gracious with their time and their pizza.
Just in case people ask, what pizza was it?
I don't know, but it was good. It was very very Neapolitan, so like very flat and crispy.
Oh, okay. We'll just say Nintendo pizza. That should make everyone happy.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So with Claude, when you approached the character of Claude, how did you sort of approach his the voicing for him? He's usually quite empathetic. Very, I would say he's very lax in a lot of ways. But you tell me.
So it's hard for me to reach back in my brain, like going into the audition probably in, like May of 2018, almost 2 years ago now, and remember what the hell I did or what we talked about. I don't, I got the sides, and then it had like a pretty decent description of Claude. It said like what was going to happen between the academy and the war phase, how his personality was going to change in between the two. His art, like I'm going to look at the words when I break down a script. I don't study scripts intensely. I try to kind of like go with my instinct, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it's what everybody else does, so it doesn't stand out. But I just kind of took my own voice. I mean, it's very similar to Claude's, and I relaxed him and made him smirk all the time because he was never quite serious. There was always something underneath. He was very much kept his cards close to his chest, and he covered that with humor. Some people, like if they're keeping secrets, they can cover it with a lot of different things, but Claude did it with like a sort of flippancy where he was just like, "Nah, I'm nobody," and that's kind of the thing that he portrayed, and that's what I tried to bring to
him. Did you know about the upside down arrow beam? Did you know about the upside, like he was gonna be presented upside down?
I had no idea, and even like after the box art was created, I didn't know for a while until I started kind of like spying on the internet to see what people were saying about Claude, and people like really caught on to the whole upside down box art thing. So I think several months before the game came out, I was talking to some of the other either the actors or the director, Patton and Chris, and I was like, I think I'm gonna make my announcement upside down. And they're like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm definitely gonna make my announcement upside down. Look at this." And it was just, yeah. So whoever put that on the box art, they made my career, because everybody responded so well to me, just taking the wave that was that meme and riding it. People are still putting my stuff upside down.
I mean, I did it too. So
yeah,
I mean,
it's great. Whoever made that decision on the box art, I love you. I owe you a beer.
So I know that you went as far as doing the stunt coordinating for it, well, at least as close to trying to replicate the animation where he does the flip, the arrow, and landing. So what made you actually go into that? I know you've probably spoken about it briefly on some of your videos, but just like a very shortened version of that, if that's okay.
Sure. So I'm a parkour athlete. If I could do one form of exercise every day, it would be parkour. I've been doing it for about 6 years, and I've done it for a couple of like video game projects and stuff like that. If they need people to do parkour and motion capture, I find it very fun using your body that way, and it just feels cool. So I had done different like parkour videos in the past. I have my demo reel for people and stuff like that to look at if they're looking to hire a motion capture actor or a voice actor that also does parkour, which is a fairly rare combination. I was like, hey, what if we do my friend Omar, who was one of my first parkour instructors, he did a series of videos that was like Spider-Man in real life, and he wasn't replicating anything. He was just like putting on a Spider-Man suit and doing parkour. So like I took it a step further, and I was like, well, what if I take the stunts, like the ridiculous things that anime and JRPG characters do? What if we try to break them down, explain what they're doing from a parkour perspective, and then try to replicate it? And he was on board because now he lives out here. Omar lives out here in Los Angeles doing the whole stuntman thing. Yeah. And so we put it together. It took us like an afternoon to film, and we just had a lot of fun with it. And the fans really liked it. I was really happy.
And then, are you planning on doing that with the cosplay now?
The costume was designed for movement, but I think there's a severe limit just with that costume. I don't know that I could do a lot of that in costume. I think it would be very difficult. I would be at danger of either hurting myself or ripping the costume apart.
We need to see this happen.
Yeah. I think there's room in the future for another photo shoot. I just released some of the photos a couple of days ago.
I saw it. It was amazing.
Yeah, it really, like Somerset Sews and Marine Price and Habatier Workshop, it was friggin' fantastic. So I think there's room for another shoot that's more action-y in the future that may include a video clip or two, but I really don't think I could safely replicate some of those things. I mean, I probably could. I've seen people like put on an Assassin's Creed costume and work it that way. But this particular one, I'm not so sure. There are a couple elements of the costume that, while they would stand up to movement, I don't know.
We can only hope, and we hope a lot.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun, and I think definitely there's a shoot in the future that involves some action.
We'll briefly touch upon your Twitch streaming. So you started Twitch streaming as well. So you've been playing your own game as well. You've been playing your own game. You've been playing Three Houses. And there is a fan question pertaining to that. But what kind of got you into the more Twitch side of things, if I may ask?
Twitch streaming for me was a neat way, because my original Twitch channel idea was I want to play games that I'm in. For a couple of reasons. One, when you're acting in a game, especially as a gamer, it sort of spoils the experience for you from a gamer's perspective. You don't get to play the game with a fresh set of eyes that a gamer does. And gaming is a passion of mine, so it's slightly disappointing, but I'll take the roles for sure over that. Yeah. So streaming was a way for me to do a couple of things. One of them was to reclaim that experience a little bit. Yeah. By experiencing the game from another perspective, from a unique perspective of someone that had been in it. It also gives me a chance to interact with the fan base in a really unique way that's a lot different from like a convention or a signing or stuff like that. Conventions and signings are very chaotic. They can be very stressful, and you really don't get to interface with people hardly at all. And so I wanted to see what was going on. So I started like testing out the whole streaming thing before Fire Emblem came out with some other games. I streamed Just Cause and Ace Combat, and I found that fans responded well to it. They really enjoyed it. My Ace Combat streams, I would have 100 people hang out in the chat, which I'm told is very good.
It is. It's very good.
Yeah, I don't
as someone who streams, that's very good.
Okay, so I'm not like super familiar. I wasn't super familiar with Twitch, and so when the game came out, when Fire Emblem came out, I was like, okay. So I kept getting all these followers, and I was like, okay, let's do some fun rewards. When I get to this amount, I can do this. When I get to this amount, et cetera, et cetera. That's how the cosplay came about as well. And I think the 20,000 or 30,000 mark was I will start streaming the game. And the response I got was so overwhelming that like I absolutely had to follow through on it. The first time I streamed Fire Emblem Three Houses, I had like 10,000 people show up. It was absolutely wild. And, I didn't think I was going to continue it. I thought it was just going to be like a small thing. But we've built this amazing community around my stream. We call them Joe's Schmoes. And
I was wondering what you were gonna call them.
Yeah.
I know it was on your Twitter, but I thought it was just a one-time thing.
No. So now it's like they're mashmos, and like I consistently have like 500 to 700 people hanging out during my streams, and it's really turned into this. I didn't know how fandom was gonna be, because a lot of actors and actresses I know have had negative experiences with having a lot of people follow them. And I didn't know how that was going to be for me. So I was a little timid going into it. But after the stream and even like the Twitter community, everybody is just ridiculously wholesome and kind to each other. And, we developed, all my subscribers on my Twitch channel get access to a private Discord server where I hang out and everybody hangs out. And like, it blossomed into this amazing community where people are like sharing their grandmother's recipes, helping each other with homework. Like a lot of people have said, like, I met my best friend on your Discord channel. People are like, there's always somebody to talk to. Everybody's taking care of each other. And it really is, it's become its own thing to the point where, like, not that I'm not interacting, but like, I don't have to build anything anymore. It builds itself because the people in the community are so amazing, and just love each other and are kind to each other. And it's really been this incredible experience that I think maybe like the stream and the community around it may be my favorite thing that's come out of the Fire Emblem thing in general. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Right. I want to ask something about Cold Steel, but I don't think I'll have enough time. So we'll touch upon it maybe towards the end.
Sure.
But I hope you do stream that when that comes out soon.
I streamed it a little bit at the beginning, and Sean Chiplock was supposed to guest on the stream. And then there was a bunch of wildfires, and they closed roads, and he couldn't get in. And then the stream, just people didn't seem excited about it as much.
Oh no, people are excited for that game, but if you compared the two, like Trials is more of a niche game than Fire Emblem is. So there are people who are interested, and I'm pretty sure there will be loads of people who will appreciate it. I mean, we had Sean on this, like I said, a couple of years back, and it's amazing to see it's amazing to see him again. It's amazing that he's thrived just as much as you have. So yeah, I'm if it was me, I'd say probably go for it. If it's a game you want to play and you are willing to play through. We tried
it for like a week or two, and then it seemed like we had a pretty big drop off. But that's like a business side thing that was just like, well, we want to keep people engaged. We want to, like, I want to do something that I like, but I also want to do stuff that the fans like too. So we'll see. Fire Emblem, I think we're going to conclude Fire Emblem 3 Houses within the next month. So we'll see.
Okay. Right. Fan questions. Yay.
Shoot.
All right. Tasmin Taylor asks, it was really awesome that you were part of the AGDQ event back in January. What are your thoughts on speedrunning?
Speedrunning both amazes and baffles me. Just as as a gamer, it's like, how fast can you read a book or how fast can you watch a movie? Like there's part of it that's like, well, you're just going through the story so fast, you don't get to experience it, but that's not really what it is. People have, in order to speedrun a game, I was talking to the guys on the couch, guys and girls on the couch, and they were like, they played the game like 16 times or something like that. Like at that point, it was just, they dumped an absurd amount of time into the game to get it where it goes. So speedrunning is an interesting thing just because, like, who was like, I want to see how fast I can beat this game. So in and of itself, I'm kind of neutral to it. I don't think I would ever engage in it because I don't want to put the time in to make it happen. But what the gaming community has done with it from like a charity standpoint is fantastic. Yeah. Awesome Games Done Quick has a fantastic mission. I love what they do. I love how they took something as sort of baffling as speedrunning games and turned it into like a franchise that can do so much good for so many communities, and my hat is off to them.
Hopefully we'll see you at another AGDQ event.
That was fun. We kind of assembled that the day of, because I didn't find out that they were streaming it, and I was like, "Hey guys, I heard you're doing it. I heard you pick Golden Deer. You want me to come on?" They were like, "Okay, we'll figure." It was really like a frantic thing. I would have loved to be there on the couch saying hi, but it was just kind of like really, it was that day we set it up.
You should do it again, just last minute everything.
It'd be great, yeah. That's how a lot of things in my life work. So,
all right. Caitlin Garden asks, how does it feel to currently play a game you star in yourself? Are you enjoying sharing the experience with others? I know we briefly touched upon it, but if you want to have some closing thoughts to it.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered it in the Twitch question. It's a good way for me to reclaim an experience that I lose by having a creative finger in the pie, so to speak. And it's great. Yeah.
Reese Nelson asks, what line of Claude's dialogue is the most memorable to you and why?
People ask me that all the time, and after the game came out, I was like, I don't remember any of my lines because it was, and so I have to like experience them as I'm playing the game, and I'm only sort of discovering some of them again. But I played one, we did one, I think it was last stream or the stream before, where I think some like creature asks Claude, "Who were you?" And he's like, "I'm the grandson of Reigan." And I love that line. I think that's awesome. Again, just fantastic writing. But there's a couple. Everyone seems to like the ghosts line. Everyone likes the "if your ancestors are cursed, therefore I'm cursed," that line.
Yeah.
People like that line a lot. One of my favorites is actually Claude's death line.
Which is,
I believe, and I'm sure I'm going to get it wrong, but it was, "All of my dreams have turned to ash." And it's just like, it was very hard hitting because of what Claude's goals really are and how he is a man very, very singularly focused on his ambitions and what he wants to make out of this land called Fodlan. And to feel it kind of turn to ash, that's a powerful line.
Isaac Davies asks, would you rather voice one dragon-sized duck or 100 duck-sized dragons? I don't know why. He just asked it.
I guess it kind of depends on what it's paying.
Oh, okay.
Because 100 duck-sized dragons sounds like it would be a lot of time in the booth. So maybe the 100 duck-sized dragons.
All right. Mark McAllister asks, aside from Claude, which FE Three Houses character do you align with the most?
It's having not played any of the other houses, it's hard for me to kind of get to know the characters. My gut tells me Dimitri. But again, I wasn't really able to get to know him very well. Maybe like somebody else in the Golden Deer. I don't know.
Go on.
That's
Go on.
tough.
If you want to pick someone from the Golden Deer, if it makes things easier for you.
I don't know. Maybe Leonie. She's just kind of like even keel, duty-centered kind of person who's there to get the job done.
Amadeus asks, what is your favorite meme to come out of Three Houses?
Oh man, did you see the meme review that me and Allegra did?
I have not seen the meme review that you and Allegra did.
There's a whole video basically detailing our favorite memes. Where basically me and Allegra are sitting next to each other reviewing the memes. It was fun. It was
Can
fun.
You pick one that was your favorite then?
Pick one. I actually really like I like when they turn Lawrence into a jar of mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Lawrence Hellman von Gloucester or whatever.
Oh.
Because it's like a pun because he's got the same name as mayonnaise. I think it's funny.
I know. It is funny. I'm pretty sure it'll be funny in context.
Yeah, it probably doesn't translate to the UK either if you don't have Hellman mustard.
We do have Hellman mayonnaise.
Or mayonnaise,
know
yeah.
What Hellman mayonnaise is?
I don't know. There's lots of different brands. I go to, like, when I go overseas, I lived in Europe for a long time. I'm like, I don't know what this is.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll ask him. He had the second question. His second question was, what's been your favorite interaction with the Fire Emblem community, aside from the Twitch stuff, because that would be cheating.
Yeah, because we already talked about that. I think... Well, that's tough because the Twitch stream kind of encompasses a lot of things, including the Discord, which is...
I mean, I'm just saying like the online Twitch aspect. So obviously there's different aspects. So for example, was it something that you did at a convention? Was it one of the
Anime Impulse was like my first convention after Fire Emblem came out, and it was really nice because a lot of people that like I knew from the Discord showed up to say hi. But at the same time, I can't call that my favorite interaction, even though it was a fun day, because it was exhausting. I mean, like it was like 3 hours of signing, followed by 2 hours of panels, followed by another 2 hours of signing with no breaks. I had, the way I measured it is I started the day with one donut. I finished the day with still a quarter of that donut. That was so it was just like, that's all the time I had in between meeting people. So it was really cool. I would say something that was neat that I did, at TwitchCon, I had a very unofficial meetup in like a hotel bar.
I remember this.
Yeah, I was just like, hey, if you're a fan, if you like Fire Emblem, I'm gonna go hang out with my wife at this bar. It was like the Marriott, and we're gonna get some dinner. Come by, it'll be chill. This is not like a signing. Just hang out. Yeah. And that was it. Like I met a lot of people. It was easier for me to like have meaningful conversations with some fans. And it's, like at some point they stop being fans and they're just people. It's just like we're sharing our lives over a meal. And it was that was a great moment.
Okay, last two questions. Andrew Blampier asks, what hobbies do you have? And you've already like specified a lot, so you might as well just list them.
Yeah, I guess it's easier to tell you what hobbies I don't have, which are pretty much dancing and drawing.
You don't draw?
No, God, no.
I feel like you'd be really good at it.
Oh gosh, no. I draw like a 3-year-old.
And you do parkour, but you can't dance?
Nope. I'm a musician, but I can't dance. It's many musicians can't dance. It's just like our rhythm goes in a different way. But my hobbies really like are reading books. I love reading. I love writing when I'm in the mood. Parkour and music and gaming. Those are pretty much my hobbies. Okay.
This is a question we normally ask at the end of all the fan questions, but someone had already asked this in the thing. So Neve Nelson asks, are there any advice you give to an actor in training about VA? I really want to get into voice acting, and I'm not sure how to start in the voice acting industry.
So I have a whole series of videos that I released sometime in 2018 on my YouTube channel about how to get into voice acting. I think there's 16 of them in total. So that's a resource. The other resource I recommend to people is iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. D. Bradley Baker's website has a lot of details about, especially, so his career is very different from mine in that like he's very much animation and some video game in Los Angeles, whereas my career was very, and still is in many ways, corporate and e-learning heavy and commercial, with some animation and video game stuff sort of sprinkled in as the stuff that I really want. So those two perspectives will be very, very different on how to get into voice acting. And then there's Tara Platt, Edelgard, and Yuri Lowenthal's book called Voiceover Voice Actor. Those are all three really good resources for a well-rounded idea of what voice acting is and what it takes to do it.
And I guess since this wasn't technically covered in your question, what is the one advice you would give to a budding voice actor or actress who would like to get into the VA industry? Since you are now effectively living the dream in some cases, what would you tell them?
What do you think is the most important thing?
Well, I think the question is a little too vague because it really depends on what they want to do. Like there's a difference between like I want to quit my job and do voiceover full time, or I want to be in cartoons, or I want a promo career. Those answers will be very different. So it really depends on what you want to do. If you want to do cartoons and games, you got to be in LA. Sorry, there's really like nobody. There's very, very few people who do it and are not in LA. And most of the time, it's because they came to LA first, built a career, and then left, and then they fly back when there's a project that interests them.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, Joe, for all your time. And how almost impromptu this was. I really appreciated the time you've taken out of your day to talk with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
I'm glad. Where can people find you?
I think the easiest way to engage me now is probably my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/joezieja. like I said, subscribers get into a private Discord where they all had my cosplay photos like a week ago. So I do everything there first. We have game nights, we have movie nights. So if like you really want to engage with me, my Twitch subscribers are the best place to do it. Otherwise, Twitter's good. A lot of times, like as more followers jump into the mix, it becomes harder for me to actually engage on the platforms, which is why Discord and Twitch are so great. So yeah, I'd say Twitch is probably the best place to engage with me. But if you want to keep abreast of like what I'm up to, Twitter's the place.
All right. I will put those in the description. For everyone else, thank you very much for joining us here on a slightly longer talks. My name is Faz. If you do want to find out more about any other interviews we decide to do with anyone else in the industry, or you have a request, either put them in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at nintendoplay.uk, on Facebook at Nintendo Players, Instagram Nintendo Players, on Facebook Nintendo Players UK, on Instagram Nintendo Players UK, and we will have our Discord linked in down below as well. Thank you everyone who's joined in. Thank you everyone who's been listening, and as always, happy gaming everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching everyone. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and we do live stream a lot on Twitch. It would be super helpful if you do share the video. And as always, and remember, I hope you guys have a very wonderful and happy Fast Day. See you next video, everyone.